Guys, it's your buddy Caden with your Money Minutes, where I interview millionaires and they give us advice on helping families in business. Today, my special guest is Mr. Rick Arvielo. Rick Arvielo is a maverick visionary and the co-founder and CEO of New American Funding. In less than 20 years, Rick has transformed New American Funding from those modest beginnings into one of the top 20 mortgage companies in the U.S. More than 4,500 employees and a serving portfolio of more than 210,000 loans for $55 billion. He has no major mergers. Rick and his wife Patty have managed to retain family-owned business culture that set New American Funding apart from other lenders since day one. Today, I humbly welcome Mr. Rick Arvielo.
Thank you. That's a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for joining me as well. So the first question I have for you, Mr. Rick, is when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and what was your first business?
That's a great question. I actually started working very young. So back when I was a child, you could start working very young. It's not so easy anymore, but I got my first job when I was 12 years old. My motivation really was, we grew up kind of poor, and I knew that if I wanted to have nicer things and to accomplish greater things, it was really on me. I had to do it. So I got exposed to the working world very young. And I think that successfully working and earning money really gave me the confidence to start my own business. So when I was 16 years old, I started my own business, my first company, which was a valet parking business, something that a kid can actually do. And it worked really well. I got an award in my high school for hiring high school students. It was the first time a student ever received an award for hiring students. So that was kind of fun. I ran a couple of parking lots and I made really good money, and I was able to hire friends to work with. I probably only had 5 or 6 employees back then, but that worked out really well. And it kind of set the stage for me, again, to have the confidence to realize that I could do something like that. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest hindrances that young people have, is they don't have the exposure to succeeding in business. And it takes that success to help them build the confidence to think, okay, well, now I can be successful doing something completely different. So I did the valet parking business for a few years, and then I moved to go to college in Long Beach. I grew up in Palm Springs, moved to Long Beach, and I got a job at night to pay my bills, like a lot of kids do when they are in college. And I realized that I really wanted to stay on the entrepreneurial track. So when I was a bartender, I obviously was working for someone else. And I had a couple of really good friends, Ken and Eric. And so we sat down and we decided to start a business. We didn't really have a plan. We just knew that we didn't want to work nights, tending bar and waiting tables. And so it was the time to risk it because we were both in our early 20s. So we started a company called Paradigm Industries. And Paradigm Industries ultimately started designing and selling checks through the mail. Now, that's something that your listeners probably aren't very familiar with, because not many people use checks anymore to pay their bills. They use debit cards and online bill pay and all these other things. But back in my day, we're talking the early 80s, 1980s, the way you paid your bills was with checks. So we started to design checks. So we're more of a creative company. with images on them that you just couldn't get anywhere else. So if you were into motocross, or you were into horses, or you were into if you were a fireman and you wanted fire scenes on your checks, we really were the only game in town. And we built that company up over 13 years and sold it in the mid 90s. And me and my two high school buddies technically retired. We were all 34 years old. And that was the last thing I did prior to starting the mortgage business.
That's great how you were able to turn this into a huge business.
Yep.
Mr. Rick, you have built a family business that will last for generations. What are your thoughts on the importance of families building generational wealth?
Well, it's more, I think it's more than just wealth. You know, wealth is kind of the byproduct of everything else that you achieve when you're able to start your own business, especially as it starts to be successful. The family aspect of our business really plays into our culture, and culture is very important. It's one of the most important things you can accomplish in building a business. You want people to feel that they're a part of something, and it's not easy to do, especially as you grow. I mean, as you mentioned, we're approaching 5,000 employees, and they're all over the United States. So you've got to figure out a way to culturally get your arms around all these people so they feel that they're a part of something. And that has to do with your mission, and it has to do with the way you approach business. So for us, it's always been about family. I mean, if you look at New American Funding, our company now, my wife's father works for us, our cousins and nephews work for us, our daughter, her husband works for us. You know, it's very family oriented, and everybody knows it because we tout it. We're out there promoting the fact that we love when people think enough about working for New American Funding to invite their daughter or husband or, you know, uncle or somebody else in their family to also join. That's the best testament that you have a successful culture. Because if you're going to ask your family to come join the company, what better proof is there that you've done a good job culturally? And if you run a responsible business, so you have to have a focus on, you know, the business cycles and accounting and all that boring stuff that comes with running a business, then wealth should just follow. But it really shouldn't be your motivation. It should be the byproduct of you growing a successful business, and culture is a pillar of that.
Most definitely. Mr. Arvielo, one of the things in my business that I've been working on is partnerships. What are some ways that partnership can help in your industry?
Well, with us, it's all about who control, because we do mortgage lending. So we put people into homes. That's what we do for a living. It's very rewarding work because in the United States of America, the quickest route to wealth in a family is through home ownership. We truly believe that. Home values go up. If you buy a house that you love and you live in it for a long time, it's going to be worth more tomorrow than it is today. So it's a very important and easy way for families to ascertain wealth. So when it comes to our partnerships and what we strive for, it really is to try to connect ourselves with people that are in a position to discuss home ownership with consumers. So those would be real estate agents, builders, financial planners. You know, those are the normal routes of buyer interest that we're able to partner with and bring people in. But most recently, that's really kind of changed. You know, that's more the tried and true older approach to bringing in business interest. Now, a lot of it is partnering with the companies that are online that are providing content to would-be home buyers that you can then partner in receiving them as buyer interest or leads. We call it leads into your organization. So this is like your Zillows and your lending trees and your Nerd Wallets and Credit Karmas and all these businesses that are relevant and important for would-be home buyers to start to look at and research. What's it going to take for me to buy a home? So now your partnerships are expanding into the ether and the internet in partnering with those types of companies, in addition to real estate agents and financial planners and builders and people that also are in a position to influence buyer decisions.
Yes, and what you do in your industry is so important. Mr. Arvielo, in interviewing leaders such as yourself, I've noticed that successful people have some type of morning routine or morning ritual. How does your morning routine look?
I think that that's probably one of the most intelligent questions I've ever been asked, to be perfectly honest with you, because for me, and I study trends in human behavior and all these different things. I study it. It's important to study it so you know what moves to make in business. And for me, the number one thing anybody interested in getting into business is developing good habits. To me, habits are the most important thing that you can focus on. And there are good habits and there are bad habits, right? I mean, there's bad habits. So you need to make sure you're adopting the good habits. And those have to do with everything, how you plan your day, what time you wake up in the morning. Are you going to eat breakfast? Are you going to work out? Are you going to read? Are you going to study? What are you going to do? Develop that cadence and try to break from the distractions. A lot of people fall victim to distractions. I want to go out and do something that won't be empowering to the business. So identifying what habits you need to develop to help you in your business ventures, and then to create routines. That's the beautiful thing about habits. If you do it for like 60 days in a row, you'll just naturally always do it. So that's how powerful it is and important it is to really focus on, what habits can I create? For me, I get up very early. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. That's what time I get up. I don't even need an alarm clock anymore to do it because I've been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning for decades. So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I have my coffee. I pour over reports from the day before. So I can make sure all my business channels are on track. And if they're not on track, I'm shooting off emails to people to have them check this or that or the other thing. So I'll do that for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I'll typically get up and I'll walk the dog. It's very important to me to get my dog out there for his exercise. And then I'll go work out. So I get exercise for myself. And then I come back. I might eat a little something. And then I get off to work and start my day. And so that's it. It really is developing those right habits and staying true to them and convicted and make sure that you make them your daily routine.
Yes, more everyone, all the millionaires that I've interviewed usually start their day off with some sort of physical workout. Mr. Arvielo, what are your thoughts on giving kids a job in the family business first? Is that something you've done in your family?
Yeah, we started what we call NAF University. NAF stands for New American Funding. And it is to give younger people the ability to join this fantastic industry that provides home ownership to deserving families. It's very rewarding work. Unfortunately, they don't teach it anywhere. It's not like you can go to college and say, I want to be a mortgage professional, and they have a class for that. They don't. So most people that wind up in mortgage, they started out in real estate or they started out doing something else and they kind of stumble into it, which isn't the best way to cultivate tomorrow's great loan originators or whatever else they want to do in the industry. So we started a university and we routinely go to college campuses and talk to people about choosing mortgage lending as their vocation and then to getting involved with New American Funding so that we can train them how to do it. So we're very proud of that, and we routinely solicit younger people, which is why my daughter works in lending. My daughter's new husband works in lending, and for us in lending. And I could go on and on with all the relatives of people that were in our business working for our company that chose to draw their kids into it. So I think it's very important to get the nice young blood and young perspective to serve the younger people that are buying homes today, right? The millennials are the ones buying homes today. You know, they're in their 20s. So you need to try to bring this youth into the industry so they can serve the youth that are trying to buy the homes. We call it mirrors. We want mirrors in the community. We want the people helping people that look like them and sound like them and talk like them and have their same cultural background. It's very important to us.
Yes, it's always important to continue generations and generations. Mr. Arvielo,
Yeah.
I often hear people say that money isn't everything, but what I found is that it takes money to do everything, to eat, to survive, to even do charitable things. What are your thoughts on that comment that money isn't everything?
You know what? I think it's a great comment, and it's a very important to talk about. You know, as I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, we grew up very poor. And so my motivation, I'm not going to lie, my motivation for working at a very young age and starting my first business was 100% about the money. But as you start to do better and realize that money isn't everything. You realize that money can create as many problems as it does solutions. But don't get me wrong, I think it's far better to have money than to not have money. That's why I've been working as hard as I have my entire life. But it really is about what's important to you and can you accomplish it? And for some people, that requires a lot of money. For other people, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And if it doesn't, it's okay. It's okay to be satisfied with focusing on your life aspirations as opposed to your financial aspirations. You know, I'll be honest with you, it does open up more opportunities for you when you have money. And that allows you to do things if you so choose. For my wife and I, Patty, our philanthropic work has to do with helping kids. So everything we do is to help children. So my wife sits on the board of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we donate a lot of our time and money to the mentorship programs in Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I don't know if you know anything about that, but these are children who have disrupted family lives. So their dad isn't in the picture or their mom, so they struggle to give their kids a normal upbringing. So we pair them with other fathers or mothers who have some free time to help those children have experiences they wouldn't otherwise have. And the results are amazing. It's like 98% of people that go through the Big Brothers Big Sisters programs wind up going to college. And these are a lot of inner city children too. That, I mean, the normal numbers are less than 50%. So it's very impactful and we love it. The other thing we're really involved in is an organization called We Organization. And it's not in the United States. They focus on building schools for kids in other foreign countries. So we're in the process right now of building 16 schools in Kenya, Africa. So those kids have a chance to go to school and get an education. We take it for granted in some of these foreign countries. It's a blessing if they get to do that. So we're very involved in building those things out. So from a from a wealth standpoint, what's so rewarding to us, to Patty and me, is we get to give back, and who we choose to give back to are anything that helps children around the world.
Definitely. And it's always great to help children around the world. Mr. Arvielo, what would you say is your biggest success you have had in the mortgage industry?
The biggest success. Wow. That's an interesting question. I think that our growth with not ever having a financial partner. I think one of the things that Patty and I are the most proudest of is we started out in Southern California with 5 employees. And we were just a small broker shop doing loans in the local Newport Beach market. And now we're licensed in 49 states and we have 5,000 employees and we're one of the largest purchase lenders in the United States. And we did all of that without taking investment from hedge companies or banks or anything like that. We just grew our business very slowly, very responsibly. We had to be very fiscally responsible to make sure that we had the funds to keep that growth trajectory alive. We were able to do it. The other thing I think we're the proudest of is, when it comes to home ownership in America, the minority classes have kind of taken a back seat. If you look at who are homeowners in America today, and you look at the different ethnic groups, the African-American group and the Latino group trail the non-minority groups in terms of home ownership. So we set out to change that. Patty is Latina. She's very passionate about helping Latinos. So we have become the largest lender by percentage to Latinos and African Americans in the United States. A lot of people don't know that. We have to do a better job of getting that message out, but our lending matches the population. So 13% of the population are African Americans. 13% of the lending we do is to African Americans. In the industry, it's only 6%. So we're double the industry. And that fills us with pride because, as I mentioned, home ownership, in our opinion, is the best chance at earning wealth in America. So for us to evenly distribute that to all ethnic groups is very important to us, and we've accomplished those goals. And I would say that's probably, besides growing our business without needing financial partners, that's probably the most important thing that we've been able to accomplish in the last 20 years.
Wow, that's so amazing. Mr. Arvielo, this is my final question. It doesn't have anything to do with business, but I like to ask everyone, what is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure, or I should say our guilty pleasure, is travel. We're big travelers. We've been all over the world many times over. My son, who just turned 17, by the time he was 12, he had been to 50 countries. So that just shows you how much we travel. So we love to travel, and we do it often. COVID has been a little hard because it's been a little harder to travel with the quarantining and everything, but it's something that we're ready to continue once it becomes easier to get around. And then me personally, it's skiing. I love to ski. So we have a house up in the mountains, so we go to often, and I get a chance to ski, and that's kind of my happy place. So that's really, I think, it. Our two passions are travel and skiing.
Where is your favorite place that you've traveled to?
I would have to say my favorite place is Africa, especially on safari. If you ask any one of our kids, they'll all answer it that exact same way because we ask them, we've been to all over Asia, we've been all over Europe, we've been all over South America and Central America and the Americas. And whenever you ask any of our kids, what's your favorite trip we've ever gone on? It's always safari in Africa. So I recommend it to anybody and everybody to, if they get a chance to do that. So that would be my answer.
That's great. And I would love to ski with you too one day.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Are you a skier?
Not really. I've never skied before.
Oh, well, this is the right age. If you get a chance, give it a try. I bet you like it.
Yeah. Sir, I would like to thank you so much for spending time with me and my audience today. Do you have any final words for the audience?
My only final words would be to kind of round out what I started with. Everything is within your grasp. What you're doing right now, I'd love to see you. I'd love to meet you again in 20 years because you might just be the #1 podcaster in America. You have to start. You have to develop good habits. You have to keep your eye on the prize. Well, they say it's a lot harder to get where you're going if you don't know where that is. So make sure you set your goals, make sure you develop good habits, and make sure you believe in yourself. That to me is the most important thing. I didn't have any reason to think I could be successful in business other than I had very early success. And it told me, yeah, I can do this. I can be successful in business. And then everything else was one foot in front of the other until I get to where I am now. So everybody out there, all your audience listening to that, don't sell yourself short. If you can find your passion, you can set attainable goals. You need to figure out a way to move yourself closer to those goals every single day, and you will achieve them. And don't think you can't, because you'll never achieve anything if you don't try. So that would be my final message.
Thank you for those final words. And Mr. Arvielo, I would like to thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure anytime. Like I said, I look forward to following your career as you climb the ladder of success that you clearly will. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for joining us today. And remember, if Caden can, you can too.
Great message, Caden.